Book Talks, and I am your host, Dimpho. Today is going to be an educational show. We have our guest here, Miss Sivanda. How are you?
I'm fine, how are you doing?
I'm good. Please tell us about the role of the IEC and the mandate that you have.
So the mandate of the Electoral Commission of South Africa is to manage elections within the country, and we manage national and provincial elections as well as local government elections. Free and fair elections also require us, as part of our mandate, to conduct civic and democracy education, which is the role then I play with a number of people at the IEC, where we go out and educate communities about their role in a thriving democracy. And that role is more than just voting. It really requires a full participation in all the democratic processes. So that is part of our mandate, educating the people and doing that with stakeholders around the country, because it's not just a mandate that can be fulfilled by the IEC. We have to do it together as a country. And a platform like this becomes very important for conducting civic education.
So stakeholders, you mentioned stakeholders. Who are we talking when you say stakeholders?
So stakeholders literally encompasses everybody in the country. So it is business, it is young people, women, men, it is civil society, it is the agricultural sectors, it's every sector of society, because all of those stakeholders play an important role. We may also all be part of these various sectors, but we are citizens who also need to participate in our democracy. And democracy only thrives if all of us are playing our role.
True. And with the upcoming elections that present an opportunity to young people to vote for their party of choice, what is the IEC's state of readiness for the next year's elections?
IEC is very ready for the upcoming elections. We have long started preparing for the elections. As you know, for NPE 2024 will be quite a different election, in that now we'll have the inclusion of independent candidates. And that required us to do a number of preparations internally to prepare our systems for that kind of inclusion. So rewriting some of our IT systems, such as candidate nomination, as well as the results systems need to be rewritten. But those are things that we are busy with, and by the time the election comes, we will be able to carry out our mandate.
Yeah, that's for sure. And with that being said, so in every province, will there be stations and places where people can vote?
Absolutely. We have over 23,000 voting stations around the country. So every person who is eligible to vote will be able to find a voting station fairly close to where they reside.
All right. You say that in the next year that it will be the new defining year that has previously passed from the 1994 elections. How is the IEC responding to this new term, and why is it important for the next year that's coming?
So we launched our NPE 2024 campaign messaging last week. And the slogan for the elections that are coming up, which are also in the year in which we'll be celebrating 30 years of democracy, is Your Democracy, Own It.
Yeah.
And really that is our response to the state that we're in, or the circumstances that we find in, where we needed to remind South Africans that it is their democracy. Democracy isn't something that exists outside of you, that is happening outside of you.
True.
You are part of ensuring that democracy thrives and lives and has reached the 30-year milestone that we're at. And we're all entering it in different years. You know, there'll be young people who will be voting for the first time at the 30-year mark, which is something to celebrate, and we want them to look forward to it and ensure that they participate.
True.
As you know, young people are the least represented in our voters' roll. So it was also important through the campaign, as you will see it rolling out on various media, that we want to speak to the young people, because these are the custodians of the future that you and I are working on at the moment. And so it's important for them to begin to participate much more actively. And what do you do to participate? You have to register to vote. Registration weekend is coming up, the first one 18 and 19 November. So go and register to vote. But even more exciting, because we are a forward-looking EMB, voting election management body, we have also launched our online registration platform, registertovote.elections.org.za, and you can register on that platform anytime at your convenience, on your cell phone, on your tablet, on your desktop. You can register to vote. You don't have to wait for registration weekend. But registration weekends are important because they're an equalizer. Not everybody has access to data or online platforms. So we need to ensure that everybody has access and an equal opportunity to participate in elections. And that's why we have the registration weekends.
And now that you've spoken that we can apply online, is it free?
It's absolutely free.
Yeah.
You never have to pay anything
Yeah.
to vote or to register to vote. And if anybody tells you otherwise, you must know it's a definite scam. It's always free to participate in your democracy. Otherwise, it would disenfranchise people if they had to pay a fee in any way. So it's absolutely free.
That's very true.
And we've been talking with network providers to zero rate the registration platform to make it easier for people to utilize the platform so that they don't have to all rush on registration weekend. But as I say, you can always register at any of the IEC offices throughout the year up until the voters' roll closes. So even after registration weekend, there is still opportunity to register. But of course, we want as many people to have registered in November 2023 as we can, but that drive will continue until the voters' roll closes, and that will depend on the day that voting day will be proclaimed by the president.
So what does the IEC say about young people not being registered and being despondent to what the IEC has to say about voting?
So it's not so much that they're despondent about what the IEC has to say. It is an issue of mistrust. It's an issue of not trusting the way things are at the moment, trust in elected officials, etc. Is really what is informing low participation. And that is based on research that we conduct and other institutions have also conducted. So people are saying that they will not participate, especially young people, because they do not see, I guess, a response to the needs or the issues that they're raising when they're going to cast their vote. So that is really the issue. It is not apathy, but just disillusionment with the way things are at the moment. But we will never say that that is a good enough reason, because participation is very, very important, and we will always preach participation as the IEC, because it is what changes things around. It is what can fulfill your aspirations. So definitely we say to young people, go out and participate, register to vote so that you're able to vote on voting day.
And with registering, right, comes the voting day. When can we register to vote?
So South Africans are able to register to vote right now as we speak through our online portal, registertovote.elections.org.za, or they can come up to their voting stations 18 and 19 November. That will be the first registration weekend, and register to vote there. Next year, we will also have another registration weekend opportunity, and that will be based on the date on which voting will be declared. So the date on which the president will say we'll vote, and then we'll count back to when we'll be able to host the last registration weekend and close the voters' roll. The end of term of the National Assembly and the legislatures around the country comes around mid-May 2024. So any time from May to August is when an election must be held. That is the 90-day period in which an election must be held. So the date of the election will fall between May and August of 2024.
Okay. In terms of the IEC, and in terms of your marketing strategy, have you broken down your strategy, your marketing strategy, languages into different sections for us to easily understand?
We communicate in all the South African languages when it comes to our communication as well as our civic and democracy education. And that's why we've got partnerships with SABC, for example, and have a community radio program within civic education, because there you're able to also speak to communities in their local languages. And that improves understanding, that improves buy-in, and, you know, should, we hope, also increases participation in elections. Even, you know, we also have sign language that has become an official language. You will notice at our IEC events, especially our events, we do have sign language interpreters all the time. But also our civic education material that we develop is visual impaired friendly and deaf friendly, because if it's an animation, for example, we've got subtitles, we've got the audio recordings for people who are not able to see, and it all conveys the same information. So we're very conscious about reaching all sectors of society. Within the outreach department, we also hire people who are, what we have a special number for people who are living with disabilities who we employ, so that we're able to reach all sectors of society, and some of those are able to speak in sign language, etc. So we really ensure that every member of society is catered for in how we communicate and in how we conduct civic education.
Okay. And what is the IEC doing in terms of luring us as young people? What is your marketing strategy? Because as young people, we're busy. We don't sit still in one position like our parents. What is your marketing strategy to get us to vote and get us interested to vote and excited to share it with our friends and our community?
So if you follow our campaign, which we launched last week around NPE 2024, so it is a campaign that is meant to speak especially to young people. You'll see Mrs. That teacher who dances with the young school kids.
Okay.
You will see Andile, Banyana Star.
Yeah.
So you'll see a lot of yourselves reflected in our election campaign through the adverts and all the conversations that we're having on the various media platforms. We also like to go where young people are at. So we're on social media, we're on WhatsApp, but we also go, because within civic and democracy education, we do face-to-face interactions. And so you may find us at a sports field in your community. Okay. You will find us on campus. We've got a campus campaign called the Tertiary Institutions Campaign, which we run throughout the year, and we go to various campuses around the country, universities, technicons, colleges, etc., and TVETs, and do civic education as well as register young people. We also have a partnership with the Department of Basic Education, and we run our schools democracy program that also runs throughout the year. We launch it in April every year in Freedom Month with the department. We had 2 launches with the minister this year, for example, and all of this is in an effort to get young people really into this idea of being part of their democracy. With the schools democracy program, I always say, as IEC, our voter education and civic education is about almost cradle to grave, because we start very young. So we don't just target those who are eligible to vote. We start very young, because that is how you create that culture of
and that idea.
Exactly, active citizenry. And for us, one of our goals is to ensure that we have civic and democracy education in our school curriculums, because that is what will make it also memorable and real. When young people start seeing democracy as part of their everyday lives and not something they sort of participate in every 5 years. So, for example, in geography, demarcation is all part of elections. That's when we, the boundary lines of where voting stations will be. So you fall in here, you fall in here. You can put that into geography. You can put it into maths. We work with a lot of numbers in elections. You can put it into languages. So it's not something that needs to just be done at LO. And we do have a teacher's manual that we produce together with DBE. But we need to make this now something that is embedded within our curriculum across various learning subjects, and also tested, because you remember what you get tested on. If it becomes a by the way, let's talk a little bit about voting in this session, you don't quite remember it. And that is something that we really are working together with DBE on through this partnership that we've had over a number of years.
Right. So please tell us about your partnerships with TikTok and Google. that you're using as special media partnership to talk to young people?
Yeah. So we've got a working relationship with the social media platforms. It includes Meta, Google, and TikTok. And in this framework, they also assist us to spread the message around misinformation and disinformation. We know that continues to be a risk in any society, really, and especially around elections, because it's something you want to curb against.
True.
And for this reason, we've partnered with those social media networks so that we put on those platforms the most credible information, and anything that becomes a risk to society and does not educate them in the way that they're supposed to can be dealt with by those social media platforms. So it requires an alertness and a working relationship with these social media platforms so that they can pick up on all of those issues, and we have a reporting mechanism for citizens, for anyone to report if they see something, if they're not sure of it. You can report it to the social media platforms or also through this setup that we've put together, and it will be dealt with appropriately.
Yeah. And misleading information, like you've said, they can mushroom from anywhere. And so using digital platforms as you've described, that with the process that you are ensuring with the partners that you have, that reporting is quite important. What can you put on record of the political parties involved have registered correctly and have followed the right procedures?
So you can always check any information that you have any doubts about with the Electoral Commission, and we'll be able to clarify. And we do get people asking us through our social media platforms, IEC South Africa, on all the social media platforms. So people do ask, they forward questions, but also, again, because we also embrace technology at the IEC, we've got a WhatsApp number, 0600 880000. You can use that platform to get credible information directly from the IEC.
True.
So 0600 880000. And we've got a variety of topics there that you're able to access around what the IEC does. And that becomes very important because sometimes there are misconceptions about the role that the IEC plays in the country. Sometimes people want you to be a player and a referee, and that's not who we are. We manage elections, and that is really the limit of the work that we do. We cannot go and recall anybody that you don't like.
Yeah.
It's your job. And therefore, citizens also really need to educate themselves about their role. And education goes both ways. So we can create the information, and we've got animations, we've got audio recordings to do loud hailing and play on radio stations.
Yeah.
We've got fact sheets, we are on social media, we're everywhere, but it also requires active citizenship. And that means you must also go out looking for the information and then be receptive to it and then share it on so that we're all getting the right information. And that's why it's important for us to be on the platforms where people are talking and forwarding each other these types of information. So you receive something on WhatsApp and you're like, this doesn't look quite correct. You can go on our official WhatsApp number 0600 880000 and see if you can verify that information via what we have there on WhatsApp. And it's as easy as that. Citizens need to also be equally responsible and participate actively to safeguard our democracy.
That's very true. Do you have now that you've said your WhatsApp number, do you have like an office number that we can reach and a website?
Yes, we do have. So if you go on our website, elections.org.za, you'll find all our contact details. We've got a contact center as well that we also bring alive just before election, so we're in election period, and therefore you can call the number and you'll be able to get assistance. We have an SMS line, we've got the WhatsApp number, we're on social media, as I said, IEC South Africa. So different ways where you play, you'll be able to find us and be assisted.
That's amazing. A lasting message that you have for our young viewers, and seeing me as a young person, what message do you have for us as youthful people in the country?
So our research has told us, and this is also supported by research that other organizations have done. As the IEC, we're very much focused on doing research that informs our work, and it also enables us to prepare better. It prepares our voter education, our campaigns, communication campaigns, and our operations. And what we have found, we did research even this year, particularly looking at young people and young people who were disillusioned specifically, because we wanted to understand what exactly is informing that disillusion. In research we released last year, the trust issue was what came out, and it's not so much apathy, it's disillusionment, it's a lack of trust in the status quo, and it's something that's actually a global phenomenon. It's not just unique to South Africa. So to young people, we really want to say that this democracy is yours. You must own it. You cannot disengage from it. And I know technology has taught us to be into that whole instant gratification mode. Technology is amazing. There's a lot of things that will happen quickly. You get an instant messaging, you get a response, I can see you've read it, you react. But not everything in life works like that. Democracy is a long haul project, as I always say, and we all have to carry it through the generations, and my generation has to play its part, your generation has to play its part, otherwise it all collapses in the future because we didn't do our job. So I'm asking young people, do not disengage, engage the process and influence it with what your priorities are. And it does require constant participation. So I can't do it today and then be tired and say, you know, tomorrow it didn't work, therefore I'm not doing it. Your priorities, your aspirations as an individual, as a community, will only be realized if you stay the course. It is a long haul project. It dies if none of us participate, especially young people who are the majority in our country and in fact in the world population. So it's an imperative, it's important, it's your own future and the future of your future children and grandchildren. So you have to play a role, rather influence the system instead of disengaging. So please register to vote. And remember, if you're not registered to vote, you can't wake up inspired on voting day, because the voters' roll does close. So at least register to vote. You don't need to know who that can come, but show up and show up for yourself.
We are thankful for the role and for the cause that you've pledged to our country. Thank you for all that you do, and thank you for your time and your efforts. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
As you've heard it here, guys, that voting is quite important, and voting plays a role. So engage, and furthermore, engage with your community and your society to make it a better place. And until next time, from me and my guest, peace.
A lot has changed in 30 years, so our democracy has to grow to keep up. And it has. The election process has changed, giving voters more choice. Independents will contest alongside political parties on the regional and provincial ballots. And you will get 3 ballots when you vote in general elections. Elections will be more secure because you can only vote where you are registered, unless you apply in advance to vote elsewhere. And more convenient for overseas voters. You no longer have to apply in advance when voting at the foreign mission where you're registered. Don't be left behind. Register and then vote. It's your democracy. Own it. For more information, go to www.elections.org.za. Find us on social media at IEC South Africa. Or WhatsApp hi to 0600 88 0000.